Rev up your engines! Now, originally, cars had no keys at all, just a switch to flip it on and off. But then, anybody can drive your car. Of course, first came simple, plain old, metal keys. Now, the first systems were simple, just a lock on the ignition, right? It was just a switch. Guys would just go behind, they'd pull the 3 wires off and twist them together so the idiot lights came on, and then would take the 3rd power wire and then touch it to make the starter run, take it off and drive away. So of course, next came locking steering columns. If the steering column's locked and you can't turn it just a tiny little bit, they could start your car, but they couldn't drive it away. Soon the thieves found out they could get screwdrivers and stuff. They could just pop it off and break it, so then they could still drive the car away. So then people would get those clubs, or you put the club on the steering wheel and lock it in place, so then they can't physically turn it because it would smash. Of course, people could saw them off. You know, the more time it takes to steal a car, the less likely they'll steal yours. If you had a club on yours and the guy next didn't, guess what? They'd steal the car next to yours. And other guys would put things like kill switches on, so you'd have a switch hidden that even if they cranked the car, the fuel pump wouldn't work or the ignition system wouldn't work. You'd have a wire there that would shut the whole thing off. But of course, that's a pain in the butt, so what did I come out with? The Immobilizer key. This is a Toyota Immobilizer key. Now, the Celica's too old, hey. It's just got an old naked key with nothing in it. But this Matrix, it has an Immobilizer key. Just a plain old key to unlock the door. But when you get the key and put it in the ignition system and turn it on, the computer recognizes it. It sends a signal to the computer to say, yes, this is the right key, and it allows the engine to crank, the fuel pump to pump, the ignition system to fire the fuel, and the fuel injectors to pulse. If you don't have the right Immobilizer key that's synced with the car, it won't start. Especially in Toyotas, this is a really reliable system. Starts every time. But like any anti-theft system, they can all be bypassed by professionals. A couple weeks ago, I had a customer had their '07 Camry stolen. The older style systems, they used a common coding system that isn't that hard to crack. If a guy has a machine like me, and let's say they got a Toyota key, what they can do is they can get in a car using one of these machines. They can code that key that they have to steal the car. Now granted, with a cut Immobilizer key, a little bit harder to do than a modern keyless system, because they do have to program it to tell the computer that it's the right key. They'd still have to have a key that went and fit and turned it. So, as my customer saw on the closed circuit TV that was watching a lot, 5-10 minutes for the guy to actually steal the car, because not only did he have to reprogram his key, he had to break the lock on the car. Because you can't cut a key, you know, unless he was a valet and had made a copy of your key somewhere and then later followed you home and saw, hey, this guy lives over there. He's made a impression of that so he can actually have the key cut so it'll turn. He could have done it that way, but in most cases, if people steal a car like that, they'll do the old-fashioned way. They'll just break off the locking assembly, and then they'll use the machine to program it that's acceptable so the car will start. Now, I'm a mechanic, not a thief, but anybody can buy these machines. As you can see here, it's got a key programmer. It says it's disconnected because I don't have it connected now, but this is for programming both the Immobilizers and the keyless ignition systems. As you can see here, it's even got a special section just for the Immobilizers. Now, when it comes to the most modern of anti-theft systems, the keyless ignition system where there's no key, it's actually easier for thieves to steal most cars. They can be hiding somewhere and they can get a machine, not this machine, this is just a reprogram. They can get one that picks up signals. So when you open and close it, they can pick up that signal. So they can just push a button and the door will automatically unlock. Then all they need is a blank Immobilizer key. Heck, people buy them on eBay. You can buy them all over the place. And they use the programming machine. Once they're inside the car, they got a key and they can turn it on. It'll read the VIN code of the car and then it'll say, what do you want to do? You say, I want to program a new key. Then they get their key out and they push buttons. And in a few minutes, the car now accepts the new keyless remote as a remote that can start and drive the car. And away they go with your car. So in actuality, these keyless ignition systems are actually easier to steal in most cases because you don't have to make a key and break the steering column. It's already going to unlock itself with the key that they brought, and they programmed it. Now, of course, it has to be somebody who's targeting a car, because if, let's say, it's a late model Lexus, they will be walking around with some late model Lexus keyless ignition fobs here, just waiting to find one. And then, if they get your signal and get in, all they got to do is reprogram it and they can drive it around. Now, I made a whole video on this. It's one reason you don't want to be unlocking your car billions of times in areas where there's a bunch of people around, because they can pick up on that signal. Now, you can actually get sheaths that cover up most of this, so that when you point it, you can put it right next to the car, and it'll only be broadcasting straight forward, and they're going to have a harder time picking up on your signal. And another way to half your chance of getting your car stolen is this. When you're leaving your car, if you're not broadcasting the signal, they can't pick it up. Do this instead. Just push the button. There's no signal sent in, it's just electricity. Car's locked and armed, then anyone around you isn't going to be able to pick up a signal because there was no signal given. Because to steal one of these cars, you got to get inside legally. If they jimmy your door, the alarm will go off when they open the door. If they don't have that signal to get in, it doesn't matter if they get inside the car by jimmying the door and getting inside. Their reprogrammer won't work because the computer knows nobody got inside the car legally, and it won't allow any programming of the key that they brought. So just think, if you're driving some strange place, don't even use this thing when you leave. Open the door by unlocking it with the master button. Then when everybody's out, close it with the master button. Don't use this. The only time you're going to need to use it is to open up and drive away. And you're opening it up and driving away, so odds are they're not going to steal it. You're driving it yourself. Now, unfortunately, that ain't going to help if you have evil neighbors. You come in and push it open up and they're going to steal your car. But how often does that happen? And now I'm going to give you some more key tips that'll make your life easier. Okay, you got an old car like my old Celica. Make sure you have at least one other known good key. Keep it in a drawer where you have keys. So if you lose it, you got another key you can get in the car. You don't have to deal with getting a locksmith and having to rekey the whole car. Once you found that other key and it worked, as soon as possible, take that key to a locksmith, have another key made, put that back in the drawer, so you don't ever have to deal with that again. It's a hassle. And let's say you got an immobilizer key. Same thing. You want to make sure you have at least two good keys. If you lose one, you won't have to get another one made. Getting them made when you already have a good immobilizer key is very simple. Any locksmith can do it. If you don't, it's going to cost you a ton more. If you have an immobilizer key and you've lost everything and you have nothing, it can get super, super expensive. I've seen some Toyotas, people pay $500-600 if an immobilizer key goes out. And when it comes to the keyless ignition systems, the sky's the limit if you lose them. Make sure you have at least two good ones. If you bought a car and it only has one, immediately go to a good locksmith who makes them and get a spare one made and put it in your house in some drawer somewhere so you know exactly where it is. Because if you lose one of these keyless ignition fobs, depending on the make of your car, it can cost you anywhere from $150 to some Toyota Priuses. Some of those things you're pushing over $1,000. Sometimes you got to replace the computer. There's all kinds of hassles. If you got a European car, it's going to cost a fortune. And I know people are going to say, oh, Scotty, you're just an old fuddy-dud worrying about stuff like that. Let me tell you, I've had so many customers that lost their keys, and they got so mad when they found out what it was going to cost to replace these things when they didn't have one. They got to tow it somewhere. It's a hassle. A very simple thing. Just make sure you have two. Put one in a drawer where you absolutely positively know it's going to be if you lose the other one. And also do a little research on your car, because some cars, in order to make one good key system, you have to have two known good keys to make the third. And if you do a little research and find out yours is one of those, then make sure that you have two spares, that you have 1, 2, and then 3 good keys. Put 2 of them in a drawer. So then if you lose the one you're using, you got 2 of them you can take to a locksmith, and he can put them in a machine, and he can make you a good one without any hassle. And if you do have one of these keyless remotes, do a little research on what system yours had. These particular ones, you pop the back off, watch battery inside, you push the button, it doesn't unlock the door. Hey, put another battery in it. That often fixes it. But some high-end cars like BMWs, they don't use batteries. They have a rechargeable system, and eventually it breaks down. Then you have to buy a new one and have it reprogrammed for the car. So learn what type you have too. Great, a lot of them have disposable batteries. But if yours doesn't, you want to be positively sure that you got another good one lying around somewhere, because you're not going to even be able to get into your car if the battery goes dead on your model that has a built-in battery system that isn't replaceable. Now, since this is mechanic money, I'm going to be giving away this cool device. I'm not going to be giving you a key because there's so many different cars and keys and they have to be reprogrammed a lot of times on the car. But I'm giving away this cool little power adapter. Plug it in. Then once it's plugged in, you just push the button and it's working. Fast charger and two 2.4 amp USB chargers, 110 volt receptacles. You can put laptops, any small device on. You can't run a drill or anything off of it, but it's for electronic products. Now, to have a chance to win this cool device, just place a clean, non-offensive comment on the YouTube comments below to win this cool power outlet for your car, so your kids will stop whining that they don't have any battery power left. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.